Yeah, greetings. This is Mutabaruka. I want to really tackle a subject here where it's so heart-wrenching that sometimes it breaks your heart considering say you fight for the liberation of African people over the years. We look at Africa and we hear that Africa is the richest continent, but it have the poorest people them. We look at Africa and we hear say Africa was once the cradle of civilization and the glory and the splendor of Africa. Yet, in this modern time, we still look like we can't get to think together. Why we can't get to think together? Why so much diverse political, religious arguments about how to liberate Africa? When really the liberation of Africa must be with the people. But when we look at Africa today, when we look upon the leaders of today, we recognize that you can't hardly find a leader if you can't find any that is representing the people, the majority of the people, so to speak. Because most of these leaders was educated in Europe. Most of these leaders have a European outlook. They do have a Pan-African outlook. Their liberation for Africa is embedded in what they learned in Oxford and Harvard and Cambridge and all these things. So you find a whole heap of them, after gaining their education, them go back to Africa and then go into the political system and then become presidents or prime ministers. And they have the same thinking that the slave master have for Africa. How can you free Africa with the slave master ideology, philosophy, religion? How can you say you want to free Africa when most of the things that cause Africa to be in this degradation is the same education you get from the same man who enslaved your ancestors and is still enslaving us? We need some leaders who can lead the people, because we don't want to hear that the people lead and the leaders have to follow, because that sometimes leads to some devastating effect upon the population and upon the country. We need some leaders in Africa that know and understand what it is for Africa to be free, to develop its own potential, to really deal with its resources rather than to have the Chinese, the Americans, the French, the Portuguese, all of the different nations that enslave Africa, to be still in Africa right now, plundering, raping, robbing and stealing. Look how much songs have been sung. Look how much speeches have been made. Even this speech now is one of the speech them. Why is it that we're so reluctant and so thick-headed and so engulfed in white supremacy that we can't recognize that the liberation of Africa is dependent on African people, not on the Chinese, because the Chinese have their own agenda, the French have their own agenda, the British have their own agenda, the Americans have their own agenda. None of them is working in the interests of African people. It is we that must free ourselves. That's why Marcus Garvey said, confidence in self. If you have no confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. And the race of life right now is to allow African people to design a system and confront the past and deal with the present, to go inside of the future. Too long now, African people is depending on them slave masters to free them. Political ideologies that come from Europe cannot free African people. The white man God cannot save black people from oppression. You and the man who enslaved you have the same God. Can't free you from the man who enslaved you with his God. And it's still enslaving us with his God. Right now, Christianity is spreading across Africa more than it's spreading across Europe. As a matter of fact, more European countries now that you see is politically and economically up there. It's moving away from that. Yet still Africa is embedded in it to the point now where you have Africans who take up the mantle of what they call televangelism, and is robbing and raping the people them with the same thinking where the white man did come to Africa with the same thinking that the white man have in him country. The only difference between we and them right now is that them is using them religion to get rich, and we is using our religion for them religion to bow down our knees every day talking about we praying. Marcus Garvey said the black man pray too much, he must get up off his knee. That is really what is happening. So we recommend that The people them have to decide them destiny right now. We're not looking for next hero. We're not looking for next Marcus Garvey. We're not looking for next Kwame Nkrumah. We're not looking for no other leader right now. We the people, must lead. And if the people lead, the leaders must follow. And that is what it is. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We're not waiting on no more hero. We don't want no more Marcus Garvey and Patrice Lumumba and Paul Bogle and all these things. That is not going to help us now. We have to take up the mantle from where those people start and end and continue the journey. And the journey is we are ahead of us. Because every time we go forward, we see we take some steps backward. Look at how we live in. Look at what we're praying to and how we're praying. Can you truly say that what we are doing right now is liberating African people? And I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the collective. Because somehow we get through the crack. For some reason or another, a whole heap will get through the crack. But we're talking about a nation as a national system, a national understanding of self as African people. We as African people must decide, must design, and must maintain our Africanness, no matter what. Because when we take it, white supremacy is what is governing the world right now. And we have to come out of the class of that because logically, we wasn't supposed to be here. After 400 years of destruction from the African race, we wasn't supposed to be here. But guess what? We survived. We survived the Atlantic Ocean. We survived all the slavery, the oppression and all them things. And we're still there. So if we are still here after all of that, things can't get worse. It must get better. And it's up to we to get it better. Out.
Because the first thing, you hear them say, we were brought here as slaves. We, This is the only time when black people mention we in the connection, Because it's slavery, them say, we were brought here as slaves. You see, we don't want to go back to Africa, because we never come from Africa. But we were brought here as slaves. So the student is taught that is we that. But no. Him, over the years, he must go to church. And the church have a big influence on him. And the church are telling about these different places in the Bible. But not one Sunday, the pastor will come out and say, I know the Garden of Eden was in Africa. Pharaoh, the pharaohs were kings in Africa. Them not saying that. So the lack of understanding and the connection is not there for a little youth who sit down and listen to this thing, including myself, when I are youth. Because I never hear a preacher mention Africa pan a pulpit yet in relationship to myself and the connection that African people have with biblical places. So the student is left now with a total disorientation of self beyond 500 years. So beyond 500 years, there's no history of black people in the minds of the African people in Jamaica. So when you tell a youth, say, boy, say, alright, hear the question where I asked them. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I am have to share it with the people them. The question when I asked the youth them, what you know about Egypt? They say, everybody put it, man, Egypt is a wicked place, sir. What you know about Pharaoh? Pharaoh is a wicked man like Prime Minister, sir. Right? Alright, so now, Pharaoh is, first of all, them never ever know that Pharaoh is not the name of an individual person, but it's a title given to the kings of Egypt. So them never ever know that. So when everybody go cross this, so see, because we just want them get a consciousness of what we are dealing with now about Africa and geographically. So when we look on them now, we're going to say, how much people inside there know about geography? One school we go, nobody inside them couldn't define what is geography. One school, and I call the name of the school. One school, none of the people them could have defined what is geography. Alright. So when we say anybody inside there know geography, and we say yes, sir, and they say alright. So we're going to draw a map. So we draw a map. We draw a map of Africa. And to them now, it's like, why you bring up Africa in the Bible? You understand what I say, Cliffy? Why we are bring up Africa in the Bible? Because it's when you start to put in the name them of the country them now, like Egypt, Northeast, and you come right down and you put in Ethiopia now, and you say, Ethiopia is not a Rasta thing, you know. So the Muslim believe say, if I say Ethiopia now, it's because I am Rasta why I say Ethiopia. But the first identifiable country name in the Bible is Ethiopia. My old grandmother Bible. We have one heap of picture in there with the angel and Jesus and God and all them things there where Michelangelo paint. When you open it and it tell you about the Garden of Eden and the 4 rivers that encompass it, the river, the this and that, it mention Ethiopia. Maybe they have a different name now. Maybe they put Kush. And most people can identify Kush with Ethiopia. But those who know says Ethiopia to talk about still. Alright, so we hear about the 4 rivers and we hear about the rivers them. And now, because I hear the next question, I ask the student them, I ask them, say, anybody ever hear about Iraq? Everybody say, yes sir. Bush invade Iraq. We say, alright, so they know something about Iraq. Anybody ever hear about Babylon? Them say, yes sir, Babylon are police. Is that some little youth, you know? Babylon are police. We say, alright, where's you hear about Babylon? Them say, well, Babylon, sir, are wicked people. Same like Egypt. So me say, anybody ever hear about the Nebuchadnezzar? Say, yes sir, Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. So me say, if Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon, and me say Babylon was a place. Them never know that. And me I tell them, say, look here, if you listen to the news carefully, on CNN and BBC, you will hear that a lot of the soldiers them enter Babylon in Iraq. So the next question I ask them now is, you ever hear about Babel? You say, yes sir, the Tower of Babel. God confused the language of the people them. I said, did you know that Babel was in Iraq? The only reason why you don't know says Iraq, because it never did name Iraq at the time. Just like how Iran never did name Iran. But if you should get a map, because you used to have the map in the Bible, you know. Them used to have the Bible land them in the Bible, you know. The geographical location, them old time Bible used to have it in, right? But even though these places geographically was shown by picture in the Bible, the masses of the people never connect it. And them the person standing up on the pulpit never allow them to connect it. Because Africa is not supposed to represent anything outside of slavery. So we look on them now, we say, alright, did you know that the pharaohs, if it's African, it's black people. It's black people. It's not Caucasian people inhabit Africa. It's black people. And the Ethiopians went down into Egypt and occupied Egypt. So it's black people we are talking about. Alright. So we will show them now, say, well, most of the time when we think on Bible people, it's white people we think on. That is without a say, without doubt. My granny sit down on the veranda and she really believes that Jesus is a white man. She really believes that Moses is a white man. She really believes that Pharaoh is a white man. She can't connect no black nothing past slavery. Most Jamaican people from the masses will read Bible and die for this Bible and sit down on them veranda right now at age 80, 70. Sit down. Don't connect these stories with Africa. Because all them know about Africa is that Africa is a place where wild people there, naked people run up and down, people eat people there, and then no white people bring them on here so and turn them in a slave. So we're trying to make the student now come out of that mindset. And the teacher must allow the student them to come out of that mindset before them can take them into something higher. Because this is now the biggest part of the pyramid. The basic part of the pyramid. Where the student have to connect themselves in history. You have to make the student, just like what you tell them, say, that's why the student say, start out and say, we came here as slave. Him have to know, say, we build the pyramids. That is what the student have to know. The student say, we came here as slaves. The student have to know, say, is we build the pyramids. The student have to know, say, is we invent mathematics. That is what the student have to know. You cannot disassociate these things from the African tradition. Because the Chinese man, no care how you hear the Chinese man say, I'm a Jamaican. He's a Chinese man. And him no feel no way when you say Chinese man.